Hey guys, Frightener22 here, and welcome to my November 10th DVD update. It's been just a little over a month since my last DVD update, and I'm going to show you guys all of the DVDs and Blu-rays I've gotten within the past month. Now, as always, this is probably going to be a multiple-part video, so just look into the info box for the links to all the additional parts, or just go ahead and click over to the DVD updates playlist and, search for part 2 or part 3 or however long this video is going to be. But just wanted to send you guys another reminder that this past Saturday, I just debuted the new season of Saturday Night Movie Drive-In, where I actually reviewed the Penelope Spheris film Suburbia. So if you guys have been looking forward to more Saturday night reviews, they're back, and the review of Suburbia is the latest one, so just go ahead and click over to the Saturday Night Movie Drive-In playlist to check it out. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get into the update. The first one that I got was, I snagged this up because there was a sale on it, and I just surprisingly didn't have this series of films, so I scooped up the Omen collection. This was actually a pretty good deal. I think I got this whole thing for like $23, and it comes with the original Omen, Damien, the Omen II, the Omen III, Omen IV, The Awakening, and the dreaded 2006 remake of The Omen. So, yeah, you have all 5 films in it, so I mean, for that, for the price of like $23, it's, worth that alone if you don't have this, great series. I think, from what I remember, I mean, I've certainly seen the original, and I definitely have seen Damien, Omen 2, but I don't really remember it too much, but I don't think I ever saw Omen 3 and Omen 4, but I did see the remake when it came out, and it's a fucking piece of shit. But, overall, this is a pretty solid series, especially like the first 2. They should be in any horror fan's collection. So, yeah, I mean, for the price, $23, that was a real steal to get, these 5 movies in a really cool Omen collection. So there's that one. There's just so many Blu-rays in this collection, so the first bunch that I'm getting is just a series of films that I had been wanting to get for a while, and I actually was just, scoping out Amazon for a while to see the latest price drops, and I was lucky enough to snag all 3 of them at a pretty reasonable deals, like 10 or 12 bucks each. So the first one I got was Friday the 13th Uncut on Blu-ray. Really happy to have this. I like to collect at least, the big heavy hitters from, the 80s horror films, like A Nightmare on Elm Street, this film, Halloween, just things like that. So, they've released the first 3 of these, but Paramount hasn't kept up on releasing Blu-rays of parts 4 through 10, or 4 through 8, because those are the only ones that they own the rights to. The next one I got was, of course, Friday the 13th Part 2 on Blu-ray. This is a fun sequel. Always really enjoyed this one. This is the sequel that you actually see Jason as the killer. It's one of those things that casual moviegoers always feel like they always think that Jason was the killer in the first one when it was really Mrs. Voorhees. But, yeah, it's always funny to see how many people, make that mistake. It's almost like when people see Frankenstein's monster and they go, oh, that's Frankenstein. It's not Frankenstein, it's Frankenstein's monster. But, yeah, this is cool. A lot of cool death scenes, good sequel. And then, of course, the last one I got was Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. This is actually one of my favorite sequels. I definitely prefer this one over the second one. I think, some of my favorite sequels are 3, 4, 7 I grew up with. I have a lot of VHS memories of Part 7. But yeah, I mean, I love this one. Just a lot of great kills. You have, the iconic introduction of the hockey mask in this one. Really, really great heroine, Chris, in this one. And, just overall, just a really solid sequel. The next one I got, as always, being a really faithful supporter of Shout Factory's Roger Corman's Cult Classics collection, I had to scoop this up on Blu-ray, and it's the 2-disc special edition of Starcrash. A lot of people, they kind of compare this one to being like the Italian version of Star Wars, but I've never been a Star Wars fan, and I enjoy this movie a shitload more than Star Wars. It's really cool. You have Carolyn Monroe, who looks, as beautiful as ever in this one. You have David Hasselhoff, and the funniest thing, while I was watching this movie, is that if you notice this character right here, He's like Carolyn Monroe's like right-hand man throughout the whole film, and in the opening credits, David Hasselhoff is kind of billed like pretty highly on this one, even though this is one of his earlier roles. Even this like predates Knight Rider, but the whole time I was like, that guy like bears like somewhat of a resemblance, not entirely, but somewhat of a resemblance to David Hasselhoff. So I was thinking Hasselhoff got billed so early, so for practically over an hour of the movie, I'm looking at this and being like, did David Hasselhoff get like a nose job or something before he landed the gig on Knight Rider? Because this does not look like the Hoff at all. And then the last like half hour, 25 minutes of the movie is when you finally see David Hasselhoff. So I'm like, doy, it fucking makes sense now. But for like an hour and a half, I'm like, that is so not David Hasselhoff. So I was like going crazy thinking, like I was about to Google after the movie, did David Hasselhoff ever have like face surgery or something? Because I just couldn't wrap my head around it. But it all made sense. But this is, you know, really fun movie. It's really hokey, really awesome set design, some cool stop motion. The galaxy that they show, you know, the stars in looks like a fucking light bright board, but it's really great, really cheesy, and it's just a really good time. I'm really excited to cut into the special features on this, one of them being like an hour-long interview with Carolyn Monroe with her experiences on it. And just tons of behind-the-scenes photos, posters, stills. This is actually one of, like, the more packed releases that Shout Factory has done of the Roger Corman line, and it was also released on DVD, so, you know, being such a huge supporter of this line, I like to buy, if they have DVDs and Blu-ray copies of them, I like to just go ahead and buy the DVD copies of them as well, because I just really like to support this lineup, so, yeah, it's a really fun one to have. The next one I got was a really, really iconic film that just saw its Blu-ray release celebrating its 50th anniversary, and that film I'm talking about is of course, the granddaddy of all horror films, Alfred Hitchcock's classic Psycho. Now, of course, you know, what more can anybody really say about this film? The performances are great, the direction is magnificent, you know, it's just shot beautifully, and, you know, this is the, you know, without Psycho, you wouldn't have Halloween, you wouldn't have Elm Street, you probably, you know, horror would just be a really different, you know, thing if it wasn't for Psycho. So, you know, every modern day horror film or horror classic of, you know, this generation and, you know, slightly before it owes all their credit to this classic film. I haven't watched the whole thing. Me and my buddy actually popped my copy in, just kind of grazed through a bunch of scenes, and it looks phenomenal. I mean, the Blu-ray transfer is really something solid, and yeah, they just did a really, really magnificent job on giving this classic film, you know, the Blu-ray transfer that it so rightfully deserves, so absolutely pick this one up. The next one that I got was released the same day as the Psycho Blu-ray, and it's from Shout Factory, actually, and it's the 2-disc set of the Psycho Legacy. And this is a documentary similar in vein to like the Elm Street Legacy, His Name Was Jason, a lot of the horror franchise documentaries that have been coming out a lot. But this one centers on, obviously, the Psycho franchise. And although it's a short-lived franchise running only 4 films, there's a lot of information on this. A lot of people's complaints about this is that they would have appreciated if they tried to talk to a little bit more people, but I mean, that's just kind of nitpicking. I think that the people that this documentary managed to speak to, they got some really, really quality interviews. And they talked to Tom Holland, who wrote the screenplay for Psycho 2, as well as directed Fright Night and Child's Play, Mick Garris, who directed Psycho 4, the beginning, Henry Thomas, just a lot of people, and it's a lot. It obviously focuses on a lot about Psycho, the franchise, but you know, it's also a lot about you know, a reminiscing of Anthony Perkins as a person, as an actor. So it's really cool, and there's a lot of really great heartfelt interviews from people, and you know, just their memories of how great you know Tony Perkins was to work with, and just what a wonderful guy he is. So for that alone, it's really worth checking out. And there's a whole second disc on here of extended interviews, a tour of the Bates Motel, you know, just shooting Psycho 2, just, you know, tons and tons of special features, which I haven't even had the time to cut into. But the documentary is certainly worth a pickup, so, you know, if you're buying the Blu-ray for Psycho, I would recommend picking up this documentary as well. It's a great one. The next one I got is another Blu-ray, and it's actually the remake of Night of the Demons. This has Shannon Elizabeth, Monica Keena from Freddy vs. Jason, and Edward Furlong from Terminator 2. He played John Connor and American History X. This one I enjoyed the shit out of. This was really, really great. Probably one of the better remakes. It definitely captures the fun spirit of the original, but it definitely injects a lot of, you know, its own energy and its own vibe. The director did a really, really magnificent job. Awesome music in this, great execution, very cool demon makeup designs, great practical effects. Just overall, I really, really enjoy this. So if you're a fan of Night of the Demons, of the original Night of the Demons, I really don't see how this remake could have disappointed even the most loyal of fans, because I really think that it didn't disrespect the original anyway, and just kind of gave Night of the Demons somewhat of a new life. So it really is a great, fun horror flick. I'm really happy I picked that one up. The next one I got is from Code Red DVD, and it's a film that's actually been kind of sought after on the DVD market because it's never seen a real legitimate DVD release. So this is the first time, and Code Red has even said that it's the quality of the film is lower than, you know, most Code Red releases, but they knew that the fans really, really wanted this. So I haven't even cracked it open to see how it is. I've seen the movie before, and it's a weird but really, really cool film, and it is the Redeemer, Son of Satan. And you know, for a film that people have been, you know, seeking for a really, really long time. It was priced pretty reasonably. I think I got this for like 15 bucks on release day through Amazon. But yeah, like I said, this is just a really weird one. There's things that are kind of said and, you know, spoken about in the movie and shown that don't really make don't make entirely a whole lot of sense, but it doesn't really take away from the film. It just kind of leaves you scratching your head and wondering. But it's cool. It's definitely cool. Some really awesome, you know, murders in this, and overall, it's just a cool one. It's a real thrill to have this one on, and it's a nice title that Code Red released because. From what I've heard, Code Red is actually closing up shop next summer, so, I mean, you know, if they're kind of coming down to the wire, they definitely chose a good film to finally release. I'm going to do one more before I cut the video, and you guys will just have to scoot on over to part 2 of it. But the last one I got was one that I've been been hoping for forever, and it finally came out. One of my favorite films of all time, in addition to probably my favorite trilogy of all time. The 25th Anniversary Trilogy Blu Ray edition of Back to the Future. I'm so excited that this is finally out. What a great collection of films. Just incredible. I haven't actually gotten the time to watch any of them on Blu-ray, but I went through all 3 discs and watched the new documentary that they did, you know, talking to Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Bob Gale, Robert Zemeckis, Steven Spielberg, Kathleen Kennedy. They just got a lot of people to speak on it, and it is a really, really well-done documentary and really worth the price of this. The clips that they show of the movie throughout it, you know, show the Blu-ray transfer, and it looks just absolutely magnificent. I've never seen film done better on Blu-ray, so I'm really excited to cut through these. But yeah, it's an incredible trilogy. Back to the Future is one of my favorite films of all time, so I'm just so overjoyed to finally have this in my Blu-ray collection. So any film fan should have this series. You know, you're a fool if you don't like it, and you're just an idiot if you don't eventually scoop this up, because it's just awesome to finally have this one. So I'm so happy to have this trilogy. It's incredible. Alright, so I'm gonna cut the video here, so just, look into the info box to see the link to my November 10th DVD update, part 2, or just hop on over to the DVD updates playlist to see the second part of this video. As always, guys, thanks again for tuning in. This is Frightener22.